And welcome back to the Journal Star Sportswriters podcast. I'm your host, sports editor Wes Huett. Here with me, as always, our basketball guys, Adam Duvall and John Komosa. How are you, fellas?
Hey, Wes, what's up?
I'm doing good today.
Excellent. Snowy.
Yep.
What we're going to go over, as usual, some of the area bests, some of our breakout guys, as usual, guys and gals, state ranks, look ahead to the weekend, and ended up with some picks. Area best this week. Tomorrow's paper will have our tonight online, the girls, and then the next day with the boys. We'll start with Adam on the girls' side.
Yeah, this is the last week for our power ranks.
That's right.
Postseason starts next week. There potentially could have been some shakeups in mine, but Knoxville and Brimfield game that got postponed until a later date, maybe this weekend. But yeah, on the small side, mine didn't change. Lewistown, Knoxville, Brimfield, Illini West, Princeville. Princeville, 18-game winning streak. Playing really well. Their game with Aledo Mercer County, as of right now, is still on, and then they host Knoxville tomorrow night. So that'll be a game that'll be very interesting to see. On the large school side, I think Peoria High really solidified itself as the second best team in the large schools after the season sweep with Richwoods. Awesome game. They led by 7 early, came back, tied it. There was, I think, 6 lead changes and 4 ties in the final 2.5 minutes. Sanaya Tutt came up big, 25 points. Hit 2 free throws there with about 20 seconds to go in regulation, and then a big 3 to spark a nice rally there in overtime. Morton, one note on Morton I have to they beat Canton last night 66-19.
Wow.
This is the second season in a row that they've shut out a Middle Illini team for 2 quarters. Wow. So they held Canton scoreless in the first and the fourth quarter last night. Wow. Which is crazy. And they also won their 38th game in a row, which ties them for the 2005 Class AA Richwood state champion team for most consecutive wins in state history. So they're at 14 right now. If they win out, they would actually tie that team for most wins in a season.
Wow.
Win out as in win the state championship.
Sure. I remember, speaking of scoreless quarters, the late Kevin Brown once, remember they held Limestone scoreless in a first quarter and then maybe half or 3/4 of a second quarter. So they almost held them scoreless for the first half. And after the game, I was joking. I'm like, is that a goal or whatever, sort of expecting sort of a great Kevin Brown answer or whatever. He's like, yeah, it's my dream to shut out an opponent. Like for a half, he's like, no, for the whole game. I'm like, you ever think it's gonna happen? He's like, why not? Like, I'm like, okay, all right, Kevin. I guess we all have to have goals,
right? And Bob Becker isn't the kind of coach that's going to hold the ball or anything.
Right.
To make that happen. I mean, he has players that are going to play in and.
But this Morton team reminds me a little bit of some of the ICC women's teams back in the 90s.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Before girls basketball was really like, obviously the levels, obviously these other teams in that ICC plays have really increased their talent levels. But back when Lorene was getting it rolling back in the late 90s, and they would beat teams like 117 to like 20.
And they would full court press.
Yeah,
5 in, 5 out. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, just a certain level of like Morton just like head and shoulders above. I mean, obviously Peoria High can give them a nice run, so I anticipate that game, if assuming it does happen.
We'll see. Yeah, the pairings will be released. The seeds are on tomorrow. Pairings will be released on Friday, so it'll be interesting to see.
Side, right?
Yeah, if they would potentially meet in a semi, or if they would meet in the title game. And that sectional, unfortunately for the casual fan, is in Rock Island.
Oh gosh, yeah, that's quite a.
So long story short, my rankings haven't changed.
How about John? How about over on the boys?
The boys' side in the large school shook up a little bit, but we'll start with the small. Those stayed exactly the same as they were last week, kind of like Duvie's. Roanoke Benson. I think they really used that Quest loss a couple weeks ago as fuel because they've been on a tear lately. They beat Depew, Henry, and Peoria Christian in a really great title game to win the Tri-County Conference tournament. That was the first time since 1995 that they won that. And then just last night, beat Colfax Ridgeview and used a 15-4 run in the fourth quarter to seal a victory there. So they end up winning that game 44-36 to improve to 23-1 on the year. So they stay at the number 1 spot, and then we got IVC stayed put at number 2. They've extended their winning streak to 5 games. They're playing really well there, 17-6 on the year. We got Quest at number 3 at 18-5. They had a nice win over East Peoria, and then they played Chicago Corliss, who's state ranked in 2A, in that East Peoria shootout and suffered a tough loss there. But bounced back with a win over Dunlap, which was really nice on the road yesterday, 80-64. So that was impressive.
Right.
And then Peoria Christian stayed in the 4th spot at 19-6, and we got Tremont at 19-6 as well in the 5th spot. So no shakeup there in the small schools. So large school, Notre Dame hands down, the best team in the area still at 21-1. We got Galesburg actually moved ahead of Manual at the number 2 spot at 22-3. Manual drops down to 3 at 12-8, and then we got Peoria High finding a home in the rankings again.
There you go.
At 13-9 after a nice win they had the other day over Normal West and Dunlap, and then we got Metamora stays there at 14-8. Morton falls out. So,
well, we'll stay over here for the breakouts. I did want to bring up Notre Dame. Seemed like we seem to talk about them and just gloss them over as like, they continue to be number 1. But what is it about what recently has been going right for them?
So last year it was a lot of Dillon talks. Connor Dillon, Declan Dillon, Noah Reynolds was playing well, but he wasn't having a breakout season like you would say. This year, if you go watch a Notre Dame game, their offense clicks so well when he's really on, and I feel like he's on almost every game. They beat Richwoods by 10 the other night to sweep them on the season. He was just coming up big every time they drive to the basket. He would be contesting a shot with blocks. He just finds his teammates really well on the court with really nice assists, shooting the 3-ball really well to get into the basket. That's the thing, too. He gets to the basket and takes a lot of contact and still finishes. And even when he does take contact and misses, he goes to the line and knocks down his free throw. So, honestly, he's in the last couple of weeks really been their star. Dillon's kind of took a back seat for right now. And when Dillon's going, they kind of complement each other. But I think that's what makes Notre Dame such a well-balanced team this year is that they have multiple guys that are really stepping up and really have Reynolds kind of on a charge for a potential POI, at the end of the year there with a couple.
Oh, you heard it here first.
Couple other contenders in there, but the way he's playing right now has been.
Is he the point guard for them?
He's a point guard.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, actually, Declan's their point guard, but
he
can play the guard, so a couple different guys take it out.
John, you may know this or not. Was St. Charles North, was that a late add to the Notre Dame schedule because of Connor Link, the Bradley recruit?
I believe so, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I did actually get to see them play at Pontiac this year.
Okay.
And kind of, I was like, man, he's going to be a nice fit at Bradley because he does all the intangibles. He's really strong rebounder. When he comes down with rebounds, he's very... he's got the ball.
Assertive.
Hard to kind of get away from him. Just makes the extra smart pass and just a good player. So
yeah, the videos I've seen, Wardle likes those long players.
He's 6'9", so
he's tall, but he plays athletic wing type, those long wing type players.
And another thing that kind of makes him unique too is having that size and being long. Is he's a lefty. He's got a really nice left-handed jump shot. So.
Well, the reason why we'll skip ahead a little bit. The reason we're talking about him is he'll be in town on Saturday facing Notre Dame.
Right.
So it's a 3:30 game.
3:30 at the
Notre
Kitchen.
Dame.
So St. Charles North coming in there at 16-5. So that'll be a good matchup and a really good test for Notre Dame in that game. So.
How about on the big side for the girls? Who's a breakout candidate for you, Adam?
I touched on Peoria High, but I want to specifically talk about Daria Edwards. Last night against Limestone, she had 21 points, 5 steals. Last year, she was hampered with a shoulder and then an upper thigh injury. And if you've ever seen Daria Edwards play, lightning. That's the best way to describe it. She just plays fast. She's plays belly to belly defense and just is, up in your mug the entire game. And she's really a game changer. I mean, she can get a steal and produce baskets, and they can go from, against Rich was a perfect example, down 4 to up 1 in a matter of seconds or tens of seconds, minutes. So.
Well, in the last couple of years, it's been Morton and Richwoods, and Richwoods obviously still not chopped liver, as they say. But what is it what has Peoria High been doing that sort of pushed them up into that status with the Mortons and the Richwoods?
If you'd ask Michi Edwards that, he would tell you maturity, and he said it started with him especially. Mm-hmm. So Michi, if you ever seen him coach, he's real emotional, and I think he's really dialed that back, and he said he did that a lot in the off season too, in the summertime, and he's not getting into the girls as much. It's more of teaching than criticizing, and that carried over to Daria, who's a senior leader, and just the maturity that they've shown, and adding someone like Tut, who's a Dunlap transfer,
his daughter, right?
Michi's daughter? And Michi's freshman daughter,
right, yeah.
Denali, Craig Edwards. Just adding those few pieces there has been really essential for their success, and their 3 losses aren't bad losses. I mean,
right.
they lost to Morton, they lost to Normal West, and then they lost to Moline. And
I assume Morton's best test has been them, right?
Yes.
Okay.
In terms of score, no. I think East St. Louis.
But it went to overtime, right? Morton, Peoria High.
No, it did not.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. No.
Yeah, so Morton and East St. Louis, that was a 4-point game.
Oh, okay.
But in terms of, Peoria High was up, 6 points with 4.5 minutes to go, and then didn't score the rest of the game.
Okay.
So I mean, that's I would say that's been their best test so far.
All right, we'll stay on the girls' side. Over on the smalls, someone here that we don't talk about very often.
I would be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to Mitch Neely and Justin Dame. Justin Dame, he is the Metamora boys assistant coach, and I was over in Metamora last week. First thing he said to me, "Love the podcast."
Nice,
great listen. Talked to Mitch. Mitch said the same thing. Love listening to the podcast. Well, Mitch's team last year, for the first time in the 26-year history, they won a regional. This year they're 25-4. They play DMAC tomorrow night. A win would give them a share of the conference title, and that would be the first time in program history that they ever won a conference title.
Wow.
So, like I said, they're 25-4. They're averaging 52 points a game, and they don't have anyone who's averaging 10 points or more. They're led in scoring by Ashlyn May at 9.9 points per game. And that's even rounded up. Yeah. So that's right up there. So, yeah.
So what you learn is if you tell us you listen to the podcast, we'll talk about your team.
Correct. But of Fieldcrest's 4 losses, 3 of them are to Eureka.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we'll stay on the smalls, head over to the boys' side. We touched a little bit on IVC. But,
and IVC, within the last couple of weeks here, they kind of been climbing up the ranks, and they've been really impressive, especially moving back down to 2A this year. We hear a lot about Holt Geltmaker. I've mentioned him, wrote about him, but who's really been impressive as his little counterpart there is Cam Woolard, who's a star on the football field as well, but he's really shown his dominance on the basketball court this year. Just in a win over Eureka the other day, Geltmaker had 20 points and 9 rebounds, but then Woolard added 15 points and 12 rebounds. So they're really, I think that's why they're on this winning streak. When those two guys are leading the scoring column, they can be very dangerous. And then in a win over Olympia last night, Geltmaker had 28. And Woolard had 18, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists. So those two guys are really kind of making their, making a statement this season. And I think IVC really has a good chance at making some noise in the postseason this year.
And that's an IVC team that 2 of their 6 losses are to Notre Dame.
Notre Dame.
And
Yep.
they've lost to Galesburg as well.
And they had a win over Quest, which was nice too.
Yeah,
So.
and beat DMAC.
Yeah, so that's going to be a fun team to watch kind of come March.
Well, the state ranks, there wasn't much movement there on the boys' side. Notre Dame moved up a spot to 3. Galesburg's still in there at 7. Roanoke's at 4. Quest fell out, receiving some votes with Wethersfield. Over on the girls' side, we talked about that. Peoria High finally leaped up above Richwoods there.
Yes, they did.
Morton 1, Peoria High 5, Richwood 6. Washington receiving a vote.
Washington receiving vote.
Knoxville's at 3 in 2A, and then Lewiston, Princeville, Brimfield in that 1A. Looked it up. I think Princeville and Lewiston could meet in a sectional semi, I believe.
All 5 of those teams, Lewistown,
Yeah.
Princeville, Brimfield, Illini Bluffs, and Havana, are all in the same sectional.
3 of them are state ranked, and 2 have receiving
Illini
votes.
Bluffs and Havana would meet in a sectional title at Illini Central 1 week
Wow.
from tomorrow. Lewistown's at Liberty, Princeville's at Rova, and Brimfield's at Biggsville West Central.
So 4 of those 5 potentially be in the sectional
Correct.
together, in the same sectional. Wow. All right, well, look ahead a little bit. We'll stay on that side. Knoxville, Princeville on Thursday. Big Thursday on the girls' side.
Yeah, that's an intriguing matchup, Knoxville at Princeville. But Brimfield at Illini Bluffs is another one. They're going to honor Jim Robertson, who's
Great
retiring
guy.
after this season. We've been in contact over the last few days. He's trying to nail down his career record. He thought he had over 400 wins, but he counted 2 seasons twice. So he said, yeah, he'd have to work for a few more years to get that. But yeah, so and that game will decide the winner of the ICAC, the Inter-County Athletic Conference. So yeah, that's a nice game there. And then Knoxville and Princeville, that's a battle of 2 top 5 teams in 1A and 2A.
Speaking of Knoxville, the Lewiston's win over them was pretty impressive.
Yes,
last week.
very much so. Very much. The
It
last
was like
Thursday.
a 30-point win.
Yeah, it was pretty. Whew.
Yeah.
I mean, that just goes to show what that team can do with those guards and their ability. They're just relentless.
Well, on the boys' side, we'll stay on Thursday. There's another big city rivalry.
Yep.
Tomorrow night,
And
John.
yeah, kind of a fitting time for Peoria High, like I said, to get in the ranks now is because you got the 3 and the 4, Manual and Peoria High, going at it in the last game of the season. They played earlier in the year. Manual got them at their place on a buzzer beater by Josh Ivory, and this is part 2. This one's going to be at Manual at 6:30 on Thursday. So you got Peoria High coming in that game at 13-9 and 4-3 in the Big 12, and Manual's 12-8, 3-3. So that'll be a very fun matchup, especially both teams kind of really hitting that peak of playing well lately.
And another thing to bring up, we just learned about they're going to be retiring Howard Nathan's number there tomorrow night during a
Oh,
ceremony.
really?
That'll be before the game. Yeah.
Before the game of ceremony. And then earlier in the day, 3 o'clock, they're going to name a portion of a street after him where he grew up.
Yeah. So it'll be a really nice
in
tribute.
Peoria. Yeah. Great tribute to a great player. What else going on this weekend for the boys? We
Another
touched a little
thing,
bit on
we touched
Connor
on
Link.
it, but
Yeah.
just kind of remind people, St. Charles North at Notre Dame. Like I said, with only a couple games left in the season, that is going to be one of their tougher matchups for Notre Dame. So, especially getting to see a team that could potentially be at state. You never know. St. Charles North might be a good game to get out and check out as they take on Notre Dame. On
What time
Saturday.
does Bradley play on Saturday? Is it
They don't play until Sunday. They play
Oh,
Sunday
it's
at
Sunday?
1
So there you go,
o'clock.
Bradley fans.
Yeah.
3:30 on Saturday. Coming out to the kitchen and watch.
I had seen that they were playing at 3:30, and I kind of assumed they were playing Saturday night at 7 or 7:30. So they lined up, but no, it's not until Sunday at 1.
I'll have to be sure to ask him because we will have a feature on Link running later that night or for the weekend. But
Sure.
If he's made a stop at Avanti's or if he's going to get affiliated with Avanti's, because usually
got to.
that's the thing you got to do when you're going to be located
Obviously.
in Peoria.
Oh yeah, they take all the recruits to Avani's.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's pick some games, fellas. On the boys' side, it's surprising. Kiwani, we forgot about them. They jumped into the ranks this week.
They did, yes.
So we'll jump on them with a big game against Quest on
Yeah.
Friday. Quest 18-5 at Kewanee at 20-4. 7 p.m. Friday.
Yeah. So that'll be a really good game. And I think the last time we had them in our picks when they played Farmington and grinded out a 1-point win over Farmington. So it's going to be a really tough game for Quest going on the road there. But I like Quest coming out with a win in this one.
Adam, what do you thought?
I'm going with Kewanee.
I think so too. It's just like this is one of those perfect moments where it's like, oh, the kids, we get into the ranks. Now we have to prove ourselves. And Quest is the team that's sort of finding us. They're going to be someone who makes some noise in the postseason just because of the schedule that they play. But yeah, that's a tough trip, man, to make. Out to Kewanee, probably going to be a pretty rowdy crowd. How about on the girls' side? The game we want to.
I'm going to go Knoxville at Princeville.
Okay.
Princeville, if their game still is on tonight, and I assume they'll beat Mercer County, they would be riding a 19-game winning streak into that regular season finale with Knoxville.
Okay.
Princeville at home with John Gross.
Yeah,
I'll go Princeville.
Yeah.
You can't pick against John Gross at home. I'll go Princeville as well.
Yeah, that team just seems to be picking up some nice momentum. That's going to be a heck of a potential matchup there in that sectional semi with Lewiston and Princeville I think it's going to be on a Tuesday night at 6 or something.
It's actually on a Monday night.
A Monday night. Oh gosh, that's going to be wild.
Yeah.
That's going to be a great game. And then even the winner of the survivor of that, then is going to turn around and probably play IB or Brimfield, right? Or Havana maybe, or oh gosh. All right, well, all of our stories and such this weekend, you can catch us online, pjstar.com/preps, into the paper, of course. You can follow these guys on Twitter, at Adam Duvall and at JKOM91, or just search up the hashtag PJSPreps for all the stuff you need. So for Adam Duvall and John Komosa, this is Wes Huett saying bye.